Okay, so now the next thing I'm going to be talking about is the key real estate terminologies. So if you're a realtor, you have to get acquainted to these real estate terminologies. The truth is that there are a lot of real estate terminologies. As you keep on going, you find out more and you learn for yourself and you just keep on going. So I cannot cover all of them in one class. I'm going to try as much as possible to give you many. So now So now the key real estate terminologies. Now, number one, we have appreciation. So you would have heard a lot of people say this property appreciates over time. So appreciation simply means the increase in the property value over time. Appreciation. You understand? So if a property is 10,000 naira today and tomorrow is now 15,000 naira, that means that property has appreciated. You understand? Then we now have depreciation. This is the decrease in the property value. Now, when it comes to real estate analysis, there is another way we use depreciation. It's not usually the way it is being defined here. Here it is defined as a decrease in the property value, but sometimes depreciation can be a very, very key finance component when it comes to real estate analysis. So if you're trying to get a tax break on the property, because you're not charged on what you spend on the property. So if this house now is 100 million naira and I spent, let's say, 10 million naira maintaining it, I'm going to depreciate that 10 million naira and they're not going to tax me on that. So that's just by the way, you might not get that. So now number three is ROI, which is the return on investment. This is how much you earn from a property compared to your cost. How much you earn on a property in relation to the cost of that property. So this is usually calculated in percentage. So let's say you bought a property of 100 million naira and by this time next year that property is going to be selling for 150 million naira. So 150 million naira simply means you've made 50 million naira extra while you bought that property for 100 million naira. Now 50 million naira, the percentage of 50 million naira in 100 million is 50%. So it simply means that a year from today you're going to be making 50% return on investment on this property. So it is how much you can earn from a property, the percentage of how much you can earn on the property in relation to the cost of that property. Then we now have off-plan project. So when you hear somebody say off-plan, this is an off-plan project or off-plan sale. It simply means buying a property while it is being built or before it is built. You understand? So when you see a property, for example, now a developer is building a project and this property is not yet completed. It's going to be completed maybe by the end of next year, and you buy in now while it is still in Kaka stage, while it is still under construction. You just bought that property off plan. Now investors like buying off plan because it's usually cheaper and saves cost. Then we now have Kaka's building. Now when you hear Kaka's building is an uncompleted project. So Kaka's is a project that has not been completed. You understand, that is still under construction, not yet completed. That is what they call a carcass building. The sixth one is the title document. So these are papers that shows ownership. Now, when you buy a property, when you buy a land, the only thing that shows that you own that land, they're not going to come and write your name on that land and say that this land belongs to this person. You understand? You hardly see that. You're not going to come and do a signpost. You understand? What they do is that they give you a document. The person that sold that land to you will issue to you a title document, transferring the title, because the person that sold to you owns that. Okay, let's say you buy a shoe. Now, if you buy a shoe from a shop or from a mall, they usually issue you a receipt showing that you bought that shoe. Well, unlike real estate, when you buy real estate, a receipt is not enough to show that I've sold that land to you. I still need to prepare what they call a title document to show that I've transferred my title, the title, all my rights, the ownership I have on this land to this person. You understand? And there are different types of documents. We have the CFO, deed of assignment. We have a module that is directed for just this topic. Then the sixth one is going to be the equity contribution. Now, before I talk about equity contribution, let's talk about mortgage. So what's the mortgage? So mortgage is another real estate terminology. This is mortgage is actually a loan that is used to buy a property that lasts up to 30 years. So mortgage is a loan used to buy a property. So if you take any loan from a bank to buy a property, just know that what you just took is mortgage. Now there are different types of mortgage that you can actually take, and the mortgage usually lasts between 10 to 30 years. You understand? Most of the times, mortgage is being provided by mortgage banks, it's provided by commercial banks, and it's also provided by the government. Like in Nigeria, we have different mortgage provided by the government. We have the NHF, which is the Nigeria Housing Fund. That one is, I think, is below 5% mortgage for a period of 30 years. We have the MRIF, that is 9.75%, and then commercial banks charge up to 16 to 35% per year, which is their interest. So I'm just trying to give you the different types of mortgage using their interest rates. You understand? So mortgage is a loan used to buy a property, and this loan, when they give you this loan, you buy a property and you pay back that loan for a period of 30 years. So you're not going to pay the money back once. You pay the money small. The rate can be 10 years, it can be 20 years, or it can be 30 years. So that is for mortgage. Then now you've known about mortgage, you now need to know about equity contribution. Now, equity contribution is the initial deposit made before the balance is paid. So now, if you want to buy a property for 100 million naira, and let's say you want to access a mortgage for 70 million naira, that means 70 million naira cannot buy that property of 100 million. You still need 30 million naira. Now that 30 million naira is how much you're going to pay. You have to pay that 30 million naira to the owner of that property while you now pursue your mortgage. Mortgage, you're getting it from the bank, and once you use it to pay for that property, you are paying back the bank. So you're going to be paying the bank over 20 years, while the person that owns the property, as you're going to pay him all his money outright. So you're not owing him. The person you are owing is the bank. 30 million naira that is remaining is your equity contribution. It simply means the initial deposit you have to make before you access the other money from the bank. Now, moving swiftly on, we have the survey plan. Now, survey plan is a document that is the map that shows the boundaries and the size and the measurement of a piece of land. Now, if you want to know, the size of your land, so you can know the kind of building that can fit in, or you can know, maybe you want to use it for agricultural purposes, you want to know how many crops can enter it, so you need to know the size of your land. Now, when you've measured that land, you understand, a surveyor usually comes and measure the land and create what they call a survey plan. You understand? And that survey plan is now what shows you the boundaries of your land, the shape of the land, because lands have different shape. Some land are square, some are rectangle, some have irregular shape, some are like a pentagon, different shape. You understand? And there are two types of survey plan. We have the provisional and the registered survey plan. The provisional survey plan is just come and measure this land, don't go and register it. Why a registered survey plan is after they've done the drawing and made a provisional survey, they now take that provisional survey to the Ministry of Lands or to the Surveyor General's office and registers it. Now, moving on, we have encumbrance. Now, encumbrance is anything that restricts the use of land. Anything that restricts the use of land, just know that there's an encumbrance. For example, a land has been lying fallow for years and nobody's doing anything there. And maybe you want to go and buy, or you're asking, why is it that this beautiful land that is here, nobody's farming on it, or nobody's building on it? So I tell you that the land has an encumbrance. It simply means there's a reason why people are not allowed to use that land. And there are different reasons. Is that there's a dispute, meaning that two people are quarreling, or the land is used as a debt. You understand? Maybe use that land as a collateral, or that land, or there's a standing court order on that land, or there's a foreclosure on that land. So anything that can restrict you from not using that land, just know that there's an encumbrance on the land.